Good evening to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our video discussion for today, January 6th, 2025, a Monday. We're going to talk about United States weather today, a little different from our typical weekly tropical weather outlooks. But as I said, I did want to dabble a little bit more into the United States weather sphere instead of just focusing on tropics, especially since it's the off season. So we're going to do that today. We have a lot to go over, including a winter storm that's impacting the mid-Atlantic today, dumped heavy snow across portions of the Midwest, northern Midwest, and also, of course, the southern mid-Atlantic, including Virginia and the DC metro area, which has not seen significant snow like we saw today. And significant, I mean accumulating snow, period. They've not seen it in a while, and they saw it today, and it might not be the end of it. We might have more in store this weekend, and we'll talk about all of that. Thank you for joining along today. Let's get started. First off, with the satellite image of what's going on across the United States, you can see this is the system that is now moving offshore. The snow and the weather is tapering off, although there is a backside to it that'll probably dump an additional 1 or 2 inches, I'd imagine, across portions of the Mid Atlantic, and there might be some snowflakes through portions of New Jersey and as far south as southern New England as well. I'll tell you, here in New York City, we did get a little bit of snow, probably not an inch, but it was enough to coat cars and grassy areas and a little bit of sidewalks. Meanwhile, down in Washington, though, and across Virginia and some portions of the Midwest, stretching all the way back to Kansas, they got some pretty decent accumulating snow. Some areas well over an inch, and as you can see by the radar, a backside is still moving in. This is all snow that you're seeing show up on the radar. This particular radar does not distinguish between snow and rain, but you could see precipitation moving through, probably dumping the final touches on the snow totals across portions of northern Virginia and through southern and eastern Pennsylvania. And this will probably extend into southern New Jersey, and looks like a little bit of it is bringing some snow to portions as far north as the New York City metro. That'll occur over the next hour or so. And by the end of tonight, things will finally move offshore, and we won't have nothing more to deal with this system as we head towards the rest of the night and into tomorrow. But as for now, winter storm warnings are still in effect. Let me actually refresh to see if they've taken them off. No, they're still in effect. It is that backside that's moving through, and probably also blowing winds that's blowing all of the snow around. That still causes winter storm conditions as well, and they extend through portions the entirety of West Virginia, most of central and northern Virginia, including the DC metro area, the entirety of Maryland and Baltimore, and some areas in southern New Jersey as well, and even portions of southern Pennsylvania too. Let's really quickly show you what that picture is. And as you can see, National Weather Service saying heaviest snow Monday morning. That's what we went through. Gusty winds tonight through Thursday. So I guess that's why um, the winter storm warnings are still in effect. And the temperatures are expected to remain near or below freezing through Friday. And this is going to set up the second part, if you will, of the picture, which will potentially lead to more winter weather as we close out the week, potentially for this region of the United States, the Mid Atlantic, but potentially including the Northeast and Southern New England as well. We'll review the models in just a moment. But really quickly, let's see who got what with the snow totals. Since we're getting them, and since the storm is obviously moving off, probably going to add an extra inch or so in some portions across Virginia and some of these areas in Pennsylvania, New Jersey. But whatever. We have most of the snow totals, and most of them are pretty much final. And as you can see, we got a lot of snow, especially around the Washington area, 3 to 4 inches, and that's not significant. That's not a foot of snow, for instance. But this is the most significant amount of snow that this area has seen, at least in terms of accumulating snow, in a while. Further south, especially like southern Maryland, Dentsville, Maryland, 8.5 inches. There's even some 10 inches here. What is this? Cookstown, Virginia. And even a area right here. This is Chesapeake Beach in Maryland, 12 inches of snow. And we even saw some pretty high snow totals across southern New Jersey too, and Delaware getting in on the action. There was a really heavy band that set up over portions of southern Jersey and Delaware, and as you could see, that resulted in some readings of up to a foot. And this was widespread once again all throughout the Midwest. Just I guess north of Louisville, Indiana, 12 inches, and extends all the way into Kansas, where they really got the most amount of snow. Widespread amounts of 16, 12, 16, what is this? 18 inches of snow. So some areas seeing as high as a foot and a half of snow. So if you got that, you're lucky, because here in the Northeast, we're still waiting for some significant snow, at least here across New York City and southern New England. We had a little bit of snow just several weeks ago, but many portions across the Midwest, they got very significant amounts of snow, over a foot in some areas, especially closer to Kansas and Missouri. Really got a lot of snow there. And I guess a lot of you are considering it a New Year's present, given that we're just a few days into the new year in 2025, and a lot of areas already seeing as much as a foot of snow. Certainly, that means we are having snow. It's not like, winter is completely gone. The snow is there. So I guess if you have it, enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy the snow, well, I'm just sorry. And I'm especially sorry because, once again, this is all part of a change in the pattern that was foreseen since early last month. Everybody was talking about how we would set up a trough in the east. Lots of Arctic air would kind of move in and kind of just stay over the eastern half of the United States for a good majority of the month, and it looks like that's gonna be the case, and it's giving way for instances like we saw today across the U.S., where we got a major winter storm that dumped widespread areas of up to a foot, and even more. And it likely will not be the last time this week that we'll have an event like this. Let's move over to the GFS model, the 18Z run, and let's run it through. Let's see what the GFS shows us. And you can see winter storm moves offshore. This is by early tomorrow morning. The precipitation completely stops with this system, and it just moves out to sea. Then we kind of have a little bit of a breather through Wednesday. Looks like a little bit of lake effect snow across portions of the Northeast and along the Great Lakes. So keep out for that. Then we move into Thursday, and then into Friday, and you can already see where our second system is developing. Looks like a rain system for Texas and Louisiana. I guess they might get some heavy rain. I guess we'll have to see about severe weather. But also, once again, across portions of the South. And this one might actually be a little bit further south of a track, which may mean that potentially some portions of the South, and what I mean by the South is the deep South, like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and even the Carolinas might even get in on some of the action with the snow that it might bring. And you could even see that GFS 96 hours out, significant system developing over the northern Gulf. Snow for portions, most of Arkansas, Tennessee, even portions of northern Alabama and Georgia get in on the action. Then as we move that out into Saturday, the system moves to the east, and you can see winter weather on the northern side once again for the Midwest and through portions of the southern Mid-Atlantic, northern Virginia, Maryland, although this storm is not on the coast or off the coast, which instead of this time around where there was snow for the entirety of Maryland and Delaware, looks like we might actually have a little bit of mixing. But the track is irrelevant for now. The big picture I want you to see is, look, strengthening system, 988 millibars, so this is a strengthening low over the Northeast. And then look, this is early Sunday morning. Well, this is 7 p.m. Saturday night in East Coast time, but this is 0Z Sunday. Look at what this system turns into. Strong low just off the coast of New Jersey and Long Island. Probably the low moves over Long Island, but look just inland of that. Heavy, heavy snow for the Northeast and Southern New England. This is a classic look of a classic good old days kind of system that we would get all the way from DC to Boston, those good old day snowstorms that everybody's talking about, that we used to get. And the GFS is hinting that that might make a return. Deepens to 960 millibars just south of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and then it kind of skirts the southern end of Massachusetts. Becomes a really strong storm for New England. And if you look at I'm actually not going to look at the snowfall because it's actually not 7 days out. It's 5 days out, but it happens at the end of the week. This definitely looks like a setup for heavy snow, widespread areas, once again, of a foot, if not more, over the Northeast. And this is a huge deal because we've not seen these kind of setups with huge coastal lows dumping heavy amounts of snow right along the coast in quite a while. So this is definitely one, it's a very interesting storm to watch because obviously the setup it brings. But number two, look at the hour date. This is not 200, 300 hours out as most of the systems that are shown like this on a model like the GFS are. This is actually within 5 to 7 days. So this might actually be a system that we need to watch. And it happens this weekend. And as you can see, it happens as a result of how much cold air we have in the east. Let me really quickly show you the temperature anomaly on the GFS. And notice as I move through the entire week, notice how much cold air remains in the east. And even into next week as well, the cold air remains. It's because we have a strong ridge in the west, trough in the east, typical pattern that really allows for cold air to come down from Canada. And you can see that, especially through the rest of the week. This is prime breeding ground for snow, especially big winter storms, especially with the right setup. And as you can see, this is what the GFS shows, and I'll actually illustrate it with the 500 millibar height. Starts off, I think the piece of energy is already out there. Let's really quickly just, want to go back to the satellite. I guess it is already out there. It's these piece of clouds over the southwest. I guess that's the energy that this starts from. Turns into a cutoff low over the southwest and the Baja California, and then it moves south. And then you could see here, there's also this northern portion of energy. This is, I guess, is what supplies the cold air for the system. And then as you can see, as this moves to the east, the southern stream and the northern stream merge. As you can see, we kind of have a southern peak, and then there's a northern peak. And then this merges. This is the classic look that you see for a winter storm that eventually develops off the coast of the Northeast, and it brings areas probably a foot even more of snow. Not going to focus specifically on the track right now, because especially if you're somebody like me, you could see the 18C GFS, not exactly quite the best setup if you're immediately along the coast, especially if you're in the New York City metro. You could see a little bit of rain sneaks in. And I'll just show you once again why the hell not. A little bit of rain does sneak in. The GFS kind of deepens the low literally right off the coast of Long Island, 977 millibars, and the heaviest snow is just inland of that. I wouldn't focus on the track right now because this is 5 days out, but what I do want to bring to your attention, and that's the whole point of this video, we have a winter storm moving out now, and as we close out the week, could we have another one potentially for the Northeast? And obviously for portions of the DMV and the southern mid-Atlantic and the northern South, if you include Virginia as part of the South, that's why I said the northern South. Does it seem like we might be in for another winter storm event That includes some of the same areas that we saw get winter weather today, and then the Northeast and New England. Could that be the pattern heading into the weekend? Meaning, is more winter weather on the way? Looks like that is potentially the case, although we shall see. It is 5 days out. The track could change. And obviously, that would change the areas that see a foot plus in terms of snow. But the bottom line, the setup is there. The cold air is definitely in place. It's just a matter of can we get things to actually come together. But bottom line, winter weather looks like more winter weather is on the way. And especially if you're in the Northeast, you'll want to be watching out, especially if you're a winter weather and also not a winter weather lover. To keep in mind that there is potentially snow coming this weekend. And we'll definitely continue to update you on that. Just kind of wanted to update you today. We'll probably post more videos throughout this week to update you further on obviously new model runs. We'll look at other models besides the GFS. And we'll also look at, I'll monitor what people are saying on Twitter, and I'll kind of overlay their message as well. And we'll probably have more updates throughout the week. And we'll probably update you as well this Saturday when we do our typical tropical weather outlooks every week. And if you are into that and you want to stay tuned for that, and you just found me today on YouTube, would really appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe, especially if you want the notifications. Well, you have to turn on the notification bell, but you also need to be subscribed if you want to be notified in the first place of my video. So I would really appreciate it if you do that. Have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your evening. Stay safe. Peace, love, and kindness to you all, and we will talk again soon.